Greetings everyone, and thanks for joining me. I'm TheFish, and today I'm going to be casting another awesome Starcraft 2 game for you guys. Now this particular game is going to be one between WhiteRa and another guy. His name seems to be VPBenQIVasya. I'm not sure exactly who the Zerg player here is, but I do know that he's a Grandmaster League Zerg player on the EU server. He's a very good player. And of course, for those of you who don't know who WhiteRa is, he's pretty infamous in the community. He is a Protoss player, if not the Protoss player, to watch. And WhiteRa, he's an older player, so he's not really famous for having very high APM or anything like that. But he's still really good. Trust me on this one. And he's known for doing special tactics. Now, what special tactics are is kind of a bit of an unconventional playstyle that he likes to use. He's famous for using the warp prism very effectively, and he'll do stuff like, for example, going air units against Zerg at very strange times. He'll do all kinds of weird builds. So that's hopefully what we're going to be seeing today. Now, this particular replay comes from, it's called the Special Tactics. It's called the Special Tactics group of replays that I downloaded from WhiteRa, and these are available to everybody. You can actually go download these yourself and watch them, but hopefully we'll be watching some pretty interesting stuff going on. This particular game was entitled Special Tactics, so it seems WhiteRa was very proud of himself during this game, so we'll have to see what he's got in store for us. Now, just to get right into it, we see WhiteRa opening up Forge first. He's going to be going for the Forge Fast Expand. Now, the Forge Fast Expand is pretty common, especially on a big map like this. If you notice, though, one thing that WhiteRa did do is that he scouted very early on so that he would know if there was any kind of early pressure. But since it's cross positions, WhiteRa should be pretty safe to do this kind of stuff. And already some shenanigans going on. WhiteRa throwing down a pylon to try and block this expo by Vasya. And Vasya doing something really interesting here. He actually started a hatchery, canceled it, and threw down an evolution chamber on the creep that was created by this thing. So that Evo chamber will die eventually, no matter what, but this is going to be kind of greatly delaying WhiteRa's Nexus here. So that's kind of an interesting thing you can do if you're a Zerg player. And you don't mind losing a few extra minerals at the beginning of the drone. You can really delay the Protoss. So already some interesting stuff happening. Now, you did see Vasya open up with a pool first, and he delayed his queen a little bit. It's just now popping out. He did that in order to get these 4 Zerglings out earlier, and that's probably because this kind of stuff is pretty common. When you see there's a probe that scouted you out, you pretty much want to be able to have a couple lings on the field to deal with stuff like this. Now Vasya's got 6 lings. He's looks like he's going to scout for pylons. And what is WhiteRa going to be up to? That's going to be interesting. Looks like he's got double gas going down. So if you're following along in his build order, that was around 22 supply. Or after he got this Nexus. So once you get your Nexus, go ahead and get your first and second simulators, and then you get your cybernetics core. So it's a pretty late cybernetics core. So he's not going to have warp gate research done very quickly at all. So we'll have to see what WhiteRa is up to. Meanwhile, Vasya going pretty standard, getting his third base pretty early actually. Normally you see that go down around 5 minutes. It looks like he was a little early on that, but that's good. Very economical build for the Zerg player, because a Zerg player in this situation has lots of time to drone up, get a ton of drones. He's already got lings out, he's got map control, he's got overlords floating around trying to scout what the Protoss is doing. So this is something that happens now, of course, quite often in this matchup, where you see the Protoss go Forge Fast Expand, and then of course the Zerg's typical response is to go for the third 3 bases. So, a lot of things you can do after you go for 3 bases. You can do roaches, which is something that I like to do. Actually, when I play ladder, I'm only at platinum. One thing that I've been trying to do is get Nidus worms if I see a Protoss Forge Fast Expanding, but it really hasn't been working out very well. a couple of Immortals can shut down Roach aggression pretty easily. So I need to maybe watch this Vasya guy to get a feel for how he handles his Zerg versus Protoss. And he likes to get his third base pretty early, it looks like. Now, already something interesting here for WhiteRa, a second Stargate coming down. So this is where the special tactics begins. You notice that WhiteRa doesn't, I don't think he has any ground units. I don't think this gateway has produced anything. So, very interesting. We'll see what WhiteRa is able to do with this Void Ray, and there's going to be a Phoenix coming out. He's already stacking up some minerals. He's got 4 geysers down, so he should be going pretty much pure air at this point. It looks like these Lings are going to be able to chase down this Stalker here. So that was his one. He did get, in fact, 1 ground unit, this Stalker, to kind of scout out. But Zerg player is ahead in supply. He's ahead. He's got to be ahead in income. Yeah, he is. And he's looking to be in a pretty good spot right now. His third base is saturated, almost. And maybe 15 more drones, and he can start thinking about putting on some kind of aggression. Now I don't see any Roach Worm down yet, so it looks like he's going to be sticking with Lings or maybe going some kind of an air build. Wisely, he gets a Spore Crawler, and that's pretty smart. He's getting Spore Crawlers at every base, yeah. So that's a pretty smart thing to do if you're the Zerg player around, it's 8 minutes into the game, you haven't seen any kind of ground units from the Protoss. It's either going to be DTs or it's going to be air. So the smart thing to do would be get a bunch of Spore Crawlers. So far we're seeing pretty good decision making. Vasya now getting a Roach Worm, and WhiteRa moving in here with this Void Ray is going to be getting attacked. Good positioning on the Spore Crawler, and a bunch of Queens coming here. Is WhiteRa going to be able to take down some of these Queens? But he's lifting them up to take them out of the fight. Great Transfuse going down. And it looks like this Queen is going to go down here. A couple Zerglings coming in to try and deal with the Stalker, but they're going to get taken out by these Void Rays, and the Void Rays just have not gotten killed at all. And it's looking kind of bad here for Vasya. He's got now a ton of Phoenix in his base. They're going to just lift off his Queen. Meanwhile, the Spore Crawlers continue to be a big nuisance. Pulling drones off the line to try and get this one Stalker. I'm not sure why he wants to do that. And Zerglings are not going to be the counter to this. He needs some kind of tech that's going to be able to do that. And we do see a Hydro stand on the production tab. So Vasya now floating a ton of minerals. He's probably going to be morphing in a ton of Hydros now, yeah. So will WhiteRa be able to do enough damage here? The Roach Worm goes down, but at this point I don't think Vasya wants any Roaches anyway, seeing what he sees. And if he could deny this upgrade, that would be a pretty nice little victory for WhiteRa. And he's doing some really great harassment, killing Overlords at a key stage in the game. Looks like this Evo chamber is going to drop, but not a lot of drones have died. And that's mostly thanks to this Spore Crawler. Now the Hydros are coming out, and one Void Ray goes down. More Hydros flooding in. It looks like the second Void Ray is going to go down, and that's going to mean that these Phoenix are going to have to get out of there. Get out of there, Phoenix! Get out of there! There's too many of them! Alright, so overall pretty successful attack by WhiteRa. He certainly threw Vasya off his game a little bit, if nothing else. And it looks like WhiteRa is going to be retreating with these Phoenix back home. Now, in the meantime, there was a fleet beacon that went down somewhere. There's the fleet beacon, and there's a mothership on the way. So, I'm not sure which one is making that mothership. There it is. Mothership on the way, and if you look at that, carrier has arrived. So, carriers and motherships. This is looking like a Starcraft 1 game with a bunch of photon cannons blocking out aggression by our Zerg player. It's like Hydros versus air. It's very Starcraft 1-ish, just having a ton of Hydros against Protoss. WhiteRa, gotta watch out. What are these Phoenix? They're dancing with these Hydros now. He's gonna pick up one and then back out. Not the best trade there. So, but WhiteRa, he's pretty persistent. He's not afraid to lose a few units if he can get a good, if he can get some good units out of it. And we see the Graviton Catapult upgrade for the carriers, and air weapons level 1 coming down. So WhiteRa going for carrier tech, which is like not something you really see every day. And it looks like he's just trying to whittle away this Hydros force. I'm not sure why Vasya is just kind of leaving these in the middle of the map, but He's trying to whittle it away so that his carriers will be able to do more damage, I suppose. Now, we do see one carrier on the field. Heat beacon research, and there it is, the mothership. Man, that thing is just scary. It reminds me of the Arbiter a little bit from Starcraft 1, if any of you guys played Starcraft 1. Although the Arbiter was kind of a better unit, because you could have more than one of them. You could cloak your units. They also had that force field-like ability that was pretty cool. And they could also shoot. Their attack was pretty weak, but still, I liked the Arbiter. It had a cool voice, too. That was also pretty cool about the Arbiter. So meanwhile, Vasya's getting a Spire and another hatchery. And it looks like he's just continuing to macro up, and I'm actually surprised that he's not getting more close to maxed out at this point. It looks like he's trying to go for a tech switch, though. He probably realizes that more air units must be coming his way. But what is the typical response to that? There isn't really one. It's not something you see very often in games at this high level. So now it looks like these Phoenix are about to get... Yeah, they just got fungal growth, so those Hydras are going to be able to take down all these Phoenix. They're going to try to lift up that Infestor. That would have been a nice move if he picked off an Infestor there, but no such luck. Now Vasya's getting a bunch of Lings. Looks like he might be gearing up for some sort of an attack here. He's starting to move out a little bit. Not the best creep spread from this guy, and I'm kind of wondering what his thought process is. I think he just must be like really confused. Like, what do I do here? This guy is going for air. He's got a ton of photon cannons. I'm not really sure what to do. Meanwhile, how many carriers does WhiteRa have? He's got 4 more carriers on the way. In addition to he's now got 4 bases, and it looks pretty good in WhiteRa's favor. If you're on 4 bases against a 4 bases Zerg as a Protoss player, 16 minutes into the game, you're doing pretty good if you're able to do that. So WhiteRa now moving in with several carriers, and I'm going to start working on this 4th base here. Now, it looks like that's going to cue Vasya to go for his own attack now. He must be saying, well, 4 carriers, that's all he could have at this point. He's going to have nothing back at home. I'm going to send my whole army in, but little does he know there's a mothership waiting for him somewhere. And he's doing a pretty smart thing here. He's splitting up his forces. He's attacking this base while his main army moves in towards the natural. And now WhiteRa's retreating back home with his 4 carriers, and these 2 carriers are starting to work on this pretty scary looking force for Vasya here. Now here comes the mothership though, and Vasya doesn't have any detection, so that could be problematic. 4 carriers here, 4 more are on the way. Meanwhile, back at home there's some Zerglings doing some pretty heavy damage. And will WhiteRa be able to hold his natural? Yes. It looks like he will. That is a vortex, and he basically just split Vasya's army into little pieces and destroyed it. He didn't even leave a single carrier there, and that attack looked pretty scary, and he just somehow managed to hold it flawlessly. So wow, great hold there by WhiteRa, and now he's looking to be in a really good spot. He's up on supply, and he's got this fleet of carriers. So wow, that's pretty crazy. Air weapons level 2 now on the way. And looks like Vasya, in response to this, is going to go mass corruptor. He's got a lot of corruptors, in fact. So this is going to be a little interesting, theory craft, where what happens when you've got a fleet of carriers versus a swarm of corruptors. What is going to happen? We're going to find out here. These Zerglings probably won't be able to do very much. The Cybernetics player going unpowered. That's not good. Oh, there we go. Starting back up again. Zergling's not doing much damage there. Don't even take the shield down on this Nexus. There goes the mothership. It was just completely out of position. It looked like WhiteRa was trying to move in to do some kind of a mass recall or something. But he was just caught by these corruptors. So that's the end of that mothership. That might leave WhiteRa in a tough spot, although he does still have a ton of carriers. We'll have to see. Looks like, here we go, big engagement about to happen. A ton of corruptors versus a ton of motherships. And who's going to be able to win? The Zerglings are still doing work on the bottom of the ground here, and all these Corruption going down. That should have helped Vasya a lot. He's target firing the carriers, working on them one by one, but man, these corruptors are just melting these carriers. Several carriers going down. Only 4 left, but it looks like they're going to clean up the corruptors. No upgrades on the corruptors, which I think is a big deal because these carriers are now +2 with shield upgrades. So that really helped in that fight. And wow, another great hold from WhiteRa. The supplies are looking a little bit better here, but better for Vasya here, but still a really great hold. And if he can take out all these Zerglings down, I hope he doesn't lose next step too bad, because now Vasya is on 5 bases, whereas WhiteRa is only going to be on 3, and his main is got to be mined out by now. So that's kind of tough. What's WhiteRa going to do now? Well, he's going to keep making carriers, it looks like. And another mothership is on the way. Another carrier, and he's going to be trying to move in for some kind of an attack here. This might be our last hurrah, though, for WhiteRa. Well, kind of a measly army here. Not too many corruptors, and that is a lot of carriers. So the conventional wisdom states that this should not work, but it does seem to be working in this case. So that 5th base goes down immediately to these carriers. Counterattack coming in again. All these Zerglings. That sentry just not in time to force field them out. But what's WhiteRa going to do? He's going to back out. He'll sacrifice a single Void Ray to get the majority of his carriers out of there. Meanwhile, back in WhiteRa's 3rd, these Zerglings are pouncing on one Zealot, and it doesn't look like we're going to be able to do very much here. Trying to work on this Nexus, but the carriers are just coming right back into it. They're all going to go down. So, meanwhile, WhiteRa's 4th base is almost up and running. Vasya is getting his 5th base back, so we're back to where we were before, except that WhiteRa's carrier fleet is a little bit bigger this time. And there she is, popping out and cloaking all of her friendly units. The mothership. It's really too bad that these units are going to be absent in Heart of the Swarm. At least that's what they're saying now. I'm going to miss the carrier. It's been in the game since the dawn of Starcraft, and it's part of the Protoss fleet. I mean, I'm a Zerg player, but I really am sad to see this thing go if they're really going to get rid of it. Of course, that's not final. It looks like Vasya is going to be going again for mass corruption. It didn't work out in his favor last time, so, but I'm not really sure what else you can do. If your opponent has a ton of carriers, it seems the only logical thing to do is get a ton of corruptors and kill them, and then try and work on his base. But, man, I don't know. This is special tactics at its finest. Like, what can a Zerg player really do in this case? I'm not sure. I remember in the Brood War days, you would go mass Hydralisk against the mass carrier and focus fire the carriers down, and that was pretty effective. But like, what can you do here? I don't know if this is going to be enough. Now I should kind of rephrase that, because he has no upgrades, and that's really what's hurting him a lot. You know, I'd like to see the +1. The +1 weapons is on its way for the air units. So, you know, maybe this isn't the best example of what to do as a Zerg player if you're going up against some kind of weird mass carrier build. Not that you're going to be going up against that very often. But it does kind of beg the question, like, what do I do in this situation? Vasya's going to move in now. He's not quite maxed out. In fact, the supplies are pretty even, so this should be a pretty epic battle here. That's a lot of carriers, and now WhiteRa adding a lot of Void Rays into the mix as well. And those should be providing some pretty good DPS at this point with their upgrades. Vasya backing out there pretty wisely. If I was him, I'd be trying to snipe this mothership immediately. It's just going to cause him problems. And wow, more Void Rays now added into the mix. So a very scary looking fleet, Protoss fleet, now moving in here. Run, little probes, no! Get away! WhiteRa's got some pretty good positioning here. He doesn't want to engage the Hydralisk and the Crushers at the same time if he can avoid it. So that's what it's gonna happen right here. He's gonna be able to section off his army into little bits and pieces and start working on it. Corruption going down on all these units, but man, there's a lot. And a vortex, beautiful vortex going down. A lot of units just getting killed outright, and WhiteRa just patiently waiting for these units to come back. Here we go, big fight now. Willis Mothership goes down. It looks like the Mothership will go down, revealing all of these units, but that's just it. There are just no more Corruptors. And GG. GG from VPBenQIVasya. So, wow, great playstyle by WhiteRa here. Something different that you don't really see every day. If you're a Protoss player, you know, you could try this thing out. Try something new. Go for the Fleet Beacon rush. So interesting build, special tactics indeed. And so I hope you guys enjoyed watching WhiteRa, and you guys can, you know, maybe try some of that stuff out in your ladder games. But please, if you're playing 4 versus 4, like, don't try and get carriers. You're just gonna end up killing your teammates. It never works, unless of course you're WhiteRa. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, I'm TheFish, and thanks for watching.